Have you ever opened up a mix that you've been slaving over for the last week just to find out that you can't remember if this version sounds better than the last? You've EQ'd the snare 100 times, bounced a final version, final 2, I really mean it, this is the last one.mp3, but you can't even tell which is the best version anymore? A lot of this is probably due to the fact that you're making one of these 6 mistakes, and that can be scary. So what's happening, fam? Miami here with JST. I've been a singer, songwriter, and engineer for over a decade, and my purpose is to make your audio journey just a little bit easier. So let's skip the preview and get straight to the EQ. EQ is one of the most basic mixing techniques and arguably the most important. In this video, we're going to be showing you 6 of the most dangerous EQ mistakes that you could possibly make. Mistake number 1. You don't even realize who you are. Well, luckily, I'm here to remind you. You're a mixer, and that means that your goal is to be a problem solver. Keyword, problem solver. Stop trying to fix issues that might not even exist. I'm gonna show you an example of that right now. Are you familiar with the twisted T snare? I'm sure you are. I used this when mixing a Gear Gods video that you might have seen. And guess what? I didn't EQ the smack at all because I realized it wasn't necessary. The fact that I didn't EQ it didn't stop it from getting 80,000 views on a meme video.
All right, so let's take a listen to this twisted T snare inside this mix and then see what I did to problem solve any issues that I had. So my first thought, like a lot of people, is, hey, am I going to have to EQ this to fit it in? But after listening to it on top, all I really did was add a little bit of reverb. You know why? Because there was no problem. There was nothing that needed to be fixed here. So sometimes you're overthinking it. And I would say that that's the first mistake that you have when trying to EQ.
Mistake number 2, stop EQing tracks in solo. Actually, stop doing any mixing in solo. No matter how sick that vocal track sounds with the boosted shelf at the end, it doesn't matter if it doesn't sound amazing on top of the instrumental. Unless, of course, you're a barbershop quartet. If you're watching this, I'm going to assume that's not the case because barbershop quartets don't gent. Or do they?
These will be the good old days, 20 years from now.
We have made it to mistake number 3. Stop playing it safe. When I first started out, I was taught to be afraid of additive EQ. But after seeing people like Chris Lord Algae basically breaking their wrist to add 15 dB of treble on the vocals, it completely changed my thought process.
So look what I'm adding. I'm adding almost plus 15 at like 6K, okay? And plus 8. There's no wrong way to make a sound. It's either you turn it all the way up. What could possibly happen? No one is gonna die.
There are no rules in mixing, only excuses. Don't let fear become your excuse for subpar mixes. Let's get back to the Twisted T breakdown. I low-key stole these settings from Joey after seeing him crank 12 dB on a kick drum, but listen to the difference that this makes.
So there you have it.
Mistake number 4, trying to fix your issues with the master bus. I'm looking at you, top-down mixers. Now, before the comments get flooded, I'm joking around. Top-down mixing can be extremely effective if you know what you're doing. Remember, you're a problem solver. So let's diagnose what the actual issue with your track is. Is the bass not gelling with the drums? Are the vocals fighting with the guitars in the high mid-range? Do your cymbals sound like Drumforge Clarify is your only option? Your best bet is to visualize your master bus as dessert and your buses as the main course. Once you have all your tracks off your plate, it's time to add some sprinkles onto the final product. That brings us to mistake number 5, and we're all guilty of this. Boosting EQ to literally just make something louder. Anytime that you reach for an EQ, you should be basing that decision off the source material and how it gels with everything else, not to hear a volume difference. We have faders for that. While it's true that adding EQ does literally make the track louder, you might be ruining a source track that only needed a 1 dB bump in the overall song. And the more you boost the signal on a track, the quieter it's going to make the rest of the EQ curve. If you've already perfectly EQ'd your bass, you might simply want the entire thing louder versus just raising the grit on the top end to make it audible. That brings us to our sixth and final mistake. After this, you can ignore everything that I said and go ruin your next track. Hey, that's all right with me. It's that mindset that's gonna keep me employed for the next 10 years, because by then, robots are gonna be mixing and writing our songs anyways. But until then, maybe I can give you one last pointer. Stop over-EQing your source material. Now, in our field, this can be difficult because we don't always have control over the material we're working with. Maybe we didn't track it and we're getting paid to just mix it. I'm sure you've been in a situation where your friend begs you to mix a song in exchange for a pizza, and the DIs he sent you were tracked on an iRig and you want to rage quit. You throw an amp sim on, don't get the immediate results you want, so you start notching every single harsh frequency that you can find. 20 minutes later, you realize that it's a mess and it needs to be retracked completely. Here's a secret about EQ. You start with a source file and can only add or take away from what already exists. There's no magic here. So let's break it down one more time. The 6 mistakes that you make while EQing. 1. Not having a clear goal in mind. 2. Stop EQing tracks in solo. 3. Don't play it safe. 4. Trying to fix your mistakes with the master bus EQ. 5. Boosting EQ to make something louder. And 6. Over-EQing the source. Stay away from these 6 EQ mistakes and you'll be one step closer to crushing your next mix. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to give it a like, hit the subscribe button so you can become part of the JST team, and make sure to hit that bell so you can be notified when we drop more content like this. Until next time, happy mixing.